Hello and welcome to High Vibe Astrology. This is Jennifer. Thank you for joining me in this video where I'll be addressing the Pisces new moon drawn up for March 10, 2024 at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're new, I want to welcome you and thank you for being here to support this community with your energy. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, hit that like button and share these messages as you feel guided, all of which are free and easy ways to support this channel. If this is your first time listening, I want to explain that I interpret charts as a microcosm for what is going on in the collective. It's simply another way of reading the universal energies as I perceive them according to my own spiritual guidance. As always, I trust you to discern what works for you and leave the rest behind. Each time I begin the process of contemplating the astrology for these videos, inevitably Spirit guides me to certain sources that encapsulate what I'm seeing in the chart. It always provides an allegorical understanding of the astrology and hopefully helps those listeners who may not be well versed in the language of astrology. Story is always a really wonderful way for us to get the lesson, to glean the wisdom from what we are encountering. And in this case, we're looking at the Pisces new moon. So for this new moon, I found inspiration from a few different sources. The first was a channeled message from Saint Germain on the podcast Next Level Soul. Another was an interview with Dr. Joe Dispenza on the podcast Diary of a CEO. But I would say that the most profound impact and inspiration came from my Rumi Oracle cards. And I will share that message at the end because it most definitely captures the essence I see in this Pisces new moon chart. One of the main takeaways from Saint Germain's message was a remark he made about human suffering. He said that conflict, war, and strife will continue on Earth until humanity understands that they no longer have to experience suffering as the means for gaining wisdom, as the means for growth, evolution. And this is a profound statement. It's one I feel we all need to contemplate on a deeper level than ever before. The collective human shadow that we see playing out is the culmination of atrocities and monstrosities from our historical indoctrination into a way of life that depends upon suffering as some prerequisite for awakening and evolving. And I don't dispute for a second that hitting rock bottom is a powerful motivator for bouncing back. I've lived this again and again in my life, and I've talked about it in the context of the Scorpio journey. But I've added to that that part of the Scorpio journey is graduating from the extreme highs and lows, from the phoenix and the never-ending death and rebirth, to finally transcend and experience life as the eagle that enables us to soar. So, if we want to truly heal, we have to be willing to change certain habitual thoughts and behaviors. Without change, no real, actual healing can ever take place. And that brings me to the interview with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I want to say that when we delve into our own shadow for the purpose of healing ourselves, inevitably we contribute healing to the collective. But the shadow holds more than just monsters in in the dark unknown. There are a great many gifts to be had by delving into the unconscious as well. So we have to overcome somehow the fear of the unknown, and this is represented in this Pisces new moon. But getting back to Joe Dispenza, I have been an admirer of his work for a long time, and I love the title of his best-selling book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And in the book and in the interview, he discusses the power of change, which can be incorporated in very small ways every day, and that when practiced, actually change our biology. They impact our physical body. As he puts it, there are 70 trillion cells spying on our brain. And what he means is that they are lying in wait for our command. Whatever we tell those cells through our habits, thoughts, and inner dialogue, as well as the words we say to other people in conversation, we are creating effects in our bodies and subsequently in our lives. He says that neurons that fire together wire together. We can actually create new pathways in our brain by changing our behavior, changing our attitude, our perception, our conversation. So in order for us to change this habit of suffering, we need to literally change our minds about it. Pisces is the sign of the martyr and the victim. This is the low vibe of Pisces, where there's an addiction to self-sabotage and suffering. And in order for us to truly put the age of Pisces in the rear view and focus on our future, we do need to seriously contemplate Saint Germain's words. Do we need to continue to suffer to gain enlightenment? And like I said, I don't dispute for a second that hitting rock bottom is a powerful motivator. I've lived this again and again, but I've added to that it is time now for us to graduate from the phoenix to be able to soar like the eagle and ascend as masters of being human souls in a physical body. And I do believe that the return of Sedna represents this energy for our civilization as we evolve. It's about remembering without reliving. Joe Dispenza said something else that was absolutely dead on, that fits this pattern that we are overcoming. He said, when you're able to recall the past without feeling the emotional trauma that you had during that experience, then you know you've healed. Then you know you are in the process of mastering your shadow. You're doing the work. Sedna is the way shower for transcending these extreme highs and lows and surrendering what is beyond our control, surrendering to the unknown and learning how to trust that process rather than fear it. So with this Pisces new moon comes the opportunity and invitation to consciously recognize where we've allowed the low vibe of Pisces to dictate our life. Where might we still be addicted to our own suffering, our own stories of martyrdom or victimization that we keep retelling, either to ourselves or to other people? Because when we retell the story, we are reliving it, and we're experiencing that same emotional trigger over and over again. So this applies to our inner dialogue as well as to the outer conversations we hold with others. Because our biology is responding immediately to all that we think and say. Joe Dispenza also says, if you want to create a new life, you have to become a new person. He offers the thought that what if the worst thing that happened to you is actually the best thing? And his life is a living testimony of turning a tragedy into a victory. Because in his 20s, he was hit by a truck while participating in a triathlon. He suffered several fractures in his spine, and he was told he would never walk again unless they surgically implanted rods in his spine. But as a chiropractor, he knew what a healthy spine should look like and feel like, and he did not want rods implanted in his spine. So while he lay on his stomach, contemplating his choices, he found the strength and he was determined to use the power of his mind to visualize a healthy spine. And it took a while, it took a lot of practice, But when he could actually complete the process of visualizing a healthy spine from the base to the cervical, up to the neck, that is, without interruption, distractions, when he was able to do that just once, he knew he had turned a page. He knew he had broken the habit of doubt, and he had turned the impossible into the possible. He tuned out all of the doubters, and he tuned into the power of his own mind to change his physical experience. So he is the living example of a miracle, and he is helping other people access this power within them as well. So he also says that the more relaxed you are in your heart, the more awake you are in the brain. And then after hearing that, I also came across a quote on Elena Danan's YouTube channel. And this quote says, "Your heart knows before your mind thinks." Both of these are such powerful statements because it shows the impact the heart has on the brain. The heart knows first before the brain thinks. It's like the 1-2 punch, the still small voice that knows the truth and doesn't have to justify it. It simply offers it up to us. And then if we allow the mind or the ego that wants to cling to the past and say, oh, well, that's not possible because before it happened this way. So you can't possibly create something new in your life. And the mind or the ego just pummels that still small, subtle voice that knows the truth and doesn't need to argue about it. But the mind needs to argue because the ego wants to cling to the past. So we really have to become so much more conscious of the still small voice that comes from the heart, comes from our instincts and our intuition, and allow the mind to take a back seat. The high vibe of Pisces is tapping into our imagination, just like Joe Dispenza did, visualizing what we want, because the brain does not distinguish and the body does not distinguish what is imagined from what is real. The inner eye sees the imagination and it commands the body just as much as the physical eyes can make our reality if that is all we tune into. When we believe in the potential dream as a habit, until it becomes real, we are changing our world. And we have to become well-versed in the language of soul, in the language of spirit, which speaks to us symbolically through signs, synchronicities, serendipity, coincidences. And that is what makes our life so much more magical. So making the fairy tale, quote unquote, real, our happily ever after, manifesting one simple synchronicity, one sign and blessing at a time. That is our new quest. And that is what will make this life truly magical. So now let's look at the chart. Then I will close with the Rumi message that truly encapsulates and sums up the astrological story of this Pisces new moon. We have Pluto in Aquarius in the first house. This is symbolic of powerful changes in our identity, a powerful change, an intense transformation of our behavior. The first house is the I am principle. I embody this energy. Aquarius intercepted is revealing to us that this is newfound or uncharted territory of individuation, of the rebel, of the outcast, or the revolutionary. We are revolutionizing the zeitgeist, the group thinking represented by Aquarius. The intercepted signs mean that we had no role model to follow for the high vibe of Aquarius. The low vibe is there too, and the potential is there, but that is what we experienced in our ancient past, allowing too much of the intellect, the scientific and technological advancement to override our intuition, spirit, and emotional nature. It's time to get this balance right. Technology is here to stay, so we have to make peace with that, but we do not have to give in to it dominating our reality. We have to get this balance, this delicate balance of power, right to work for life rather than against life. The aspect Pluto is making with Mercury and Sedna in this triple sextile is truly important. Pluto representing power, Mercury representing the mind, and Mercury at 0 degrees of Aries, which I'll get to in just a moment, is also extremely important. Sedna is tapping into our primordial, immortal essence and divine inheritance, being able to see the sacred not only in ourselves, but in all life. So these three planets combined are providing us with the opportunity to change our minds, our thoughts, our attitudes, and our stories. Sedna is about stories and the proper use of language to gain a fresh perspective on events and a brand new perception of our reality. And this is the signature of conversations with the mystical realm and the ability to notice those subtle signs I was talking about, the synchronicity, and be able to gain confidence in our ability to have a conversation with spirit. And it can be direct, but it is more times than not very subtle. So we have to learn to tune into that and pick up those cues. Then we have Mars and Venus in Aquarius, and this is a continuation of the individual unification brought about by Kundalini rising. And I've addressed this in the previous videos, but we are awakening as individuals to this new territory. Again, the intercepted sign in this chart, because there's no outer role model to follow. We have to go within and find our own pathway toward unification and the divine alchemy of the sacred union of these opposites, Mars and Venus. Venus is making a square to Sedna, and this represents the love for and from the Divine Mother that inspires love for all life and that attracts, through that magnetic principle, miraculous resources and circumstances that bring to us infinite abundance, which is our divine inheritance. Mars is making a square to Uranus, and this represents the courage to change our behavior. I mean, think of the example of Joe Dispenza lying face down on that table and having the courage to say, no, I am not electing. I know I have the power to heal myself. So this represents Mars-Uranus square. This is the courage to change our behavior, even in the smallest ways, to facilitate our own and humanity's liberation. Next, we have Saturn in Pisces in the second house. This is supporting the heavenly dream. What is our spiritual ideal? What is our heaven on earth? To really give structure to that. That's what Saturn's job is, to make something real, to make it tangible. Saturn represents, too, where we have to put in the work. And in the second house, this theme is around our values, our money, and our self-worth. How much are we still equating our self-worth with our net worth? How much are we still relying on the outer, external, tangible, or visible world to tell us what we're worth, rather than the other way around? Saturn in Pisces is saying your real worth is derived from your divine nature. It is the inner work and mastery that is necessary to fully recognize this truth. When I share the Rumi message, this principle will become so much more clear. But next we have the conjunction of the new moon with Saturn, and this is a 9-degree orb, but it's still a conjunction. New moons are new cycles, and Saturn here is providing that structure for this new dream, this new vision. And it really is symbolizing the opportunity to seize the day, seize the dream, and make it real. Pisces new moon in the second also symbolizes a new set of values around our divine origin and divine connection. The fact that it is also conjunct Neptune, its ruler, on the other side. You have Saturn conjunct the new moon on the one side and Neptune on the other. This epitomizes the principle that we have to lose ourselves in order to find and discover who we truly are, who we are meant to be. The old self feels disoriented in this process, and that can be scary, but it has to dissolve in this Piscean sea to be fully immersed in the spiritual mystical realm, allowing all that has previously shown up as an addiction to suffering to dissolve. It does represent waking from a deep slumber, as I talked about at the Aquarius new moon. But it's also the process of simply remembering and allowing all that is false to dissolve, to fall away, to uncover who we have been all along. This is also supported by the new moon's sextile to Uranus, the awakener. But we have to consciously make use of the sextile energy. It isn't going to be handed to us. So this is, again, about consciously cultivating our own awakening, the Kundalini rising, unification of these polarities within us, solar and lunar, masculine and feminine, as we allow our old values and our old stories to disappear and surrender to that dissolution process so that we can awaken to new freedom. In its conjunction to Neptune, the sun and moon are swimming in this dreamy world of the ideal. This is a new cycle. So this is when we can allow ourselves to truly marinate in a new vision for our life, for our future. Even if it feels unrealistic at first, it will feel that way until we begin to notice the subtle ways Spirit is speaking to us, to feel it in the heart center and have that knowing, and keep the mind on the back burner, behind us and not interfering with this process. We have to know that we are worthy to receive this heaven on earth. This is what will create the magical change we can actually feel, these visceral sensations that let us know we have been heard. Spirit is on it. It is manifesting our visions, even if we cannot yet see the tangible results. We have to trust that we will. And we have to trust that Spirit is changing our reality forever for the better. Mercury at 0 degrees of Aries literally symbolizes a fresh new mind, a brand new perspective, a brand new way of perceiving life. Just as Aries reaches the 27th degree, it is going to go retrograde, and then it retraces its steps through Aries until it reaches a conjunction with a north node at 15 degrees and stations direct there. Anytime a planet is stationing direct, it is more potent and powerful. And the fact that it will station direct at 15 degrees exactly conjunct the north node, this is absolutely no coincidence. Again, this is one of those synchronicities, a sign from heaven. This is our destiny. The north node is our destiny. It's the compass that is guiding us to that solid land, that solid base that while we're in Pisces, we can't quite yet see. And we have to trust that that's where we're being led and guided. Mercury at 0 degrees of Aries has to undergo this fresh new perspective if we are to release the old Aryan way of domination through war or domination of the external world, and embrace instead this realization that it is the war within us, the conflict within ourselves, this need or this let go of the indoctrination to be your own worst enemy. Let that go and become your own warrior, the warrior and guardian of the heart. Protect yourself through changing your mind and changing the way you converse with yourself and with other people. It's interesting that 15 degrees is exactly at the center of any sign, because every sign is 0 to 30 degrees. 15 right in the middle, symbolizing the inner path as the way to arriving at our destiny. It's no longer about conquering enemies that are external to us. It's about conquering the enemy within, the self-sabotage, and claiming victory through changing our mind, our thoughts, our words, and our attitudes. Aries is a sign of independence, and it is in the house of self-sufficiency, the second house. This is the signature of energy that is graduating from codependence on others, or the need for validation from others, the need to people please, with that south node in Libra. The conjunction of Chiron and the north node in the second house is emphasizing that our healing and our destiny does depend upon us as individuals to truly own and embody our self-worth. We have to know our divine origin, and we have to stand in that truth. We have to know that it is our inner spiritual worth that brings about and attracts our material abundance, not the other way around. Then we have Jupiter in Taurus in the third house, and this conjuncts the fourth house cusp. Jupiter in the third expands our mind and curiosity. This is the quest. This is the need to ask questions. And Jupiter represents wisdom, the wisdom seeker. So in the third house, even though it's conjunct that fourth house cusp and it is influencing the fourth, this is really about our personal perception of the world right around us. It is also making a conjunction with Uranus in the fourth. And the fourth house represents our base of operations, our internal, private, emotional foundation, and what helps us feel secure emotionally. So in its conjunction to Uranus, it is expanding, Jupiter, the awakening, Uranus, of the ancient gifts that connect us to our ancestors, specifically Divine Mother, represented by the fourth house. Uranus can also represent the cosmic tribe, our star family, and the fourth house is our family in general. So Jupiter with Uranus is the beneficial manifestation of coming home, a reunion of sorts to our soul and star family. This is on the horizon. And when Jupiter and Uranus do come into their exact conjunction by April 20th, we should see more and more results of this unfolding in our lives. Sedna's presence in the fourth emphasizes this connection to our ancient roots and soul tribe, supporting the realization of that ancient tribe also being our star family. It reveals the mysteries of our generational healing, ancestral healing, patterns of emotional abandonment that absolutely need to be released. It signifies a deep reverence for Mother Nature, for our Earth, our planet, living in harmony with all beings, and embracing the infinite possibilities that exist within the cells of our body temple, the body-mind-spirit connection that Joe Dispenza is teaching in all of his work, and that he lived. He is a living testimony to the fact that we can all do this. This is the connection and the delicate balance between the age of Aquarius, the new science, and our natural biology, if we can cultivate this balance and maintain it properly. I see this as a real opportunity for us to really receive before Sedna re-enters Gemini and approaches an exact conjunction with Uranus in 2025. We have to be living in balance so that we are not split apart again by the duality that Gemini represents in its low vibration. The two aspects of our nature, intellect and intuition, material and spiritual, masculine and feminine, really need to be unified in each one of us, equally respected and in harmony. We can create a brand new world by turning off the media every day and rewrite our own story, recreate our new script for this world. Envision it, and it will be so. Joe Dispenza also says, when you're ready to change, you will. Now that you know, you cannot not know. This brings us full circle to that Pluto-Mercury Sedna triple sextile, reinforcing the necessity to change our behavior by changing the way we think, the way we talk, and the way we perceive ourselves and our reality. So before I play the frequencies, I would like to share this powerful message from Rumi. Lose your head and find your heart, basically, is what this message is saying. So please stay tuned for the frequencies after this message and share your thoughts or affirmations, and I look forward to being with you next time. Bye for now. Whirling Goddess, lose your head. Not a single thread that has a head can go through the eye of the needle. Come, my love, are you dizzy yet? If you can still find your feet, then that is okay with me. But if you can still find your head, then I will take issue. There is a great dance, but it cannot be danced with choreographed steps. No, this great dance demands a response rather than an initiation, a reaction rather than a direction. So let us dissemble and lose our heads to the great music, the rhythm held steady in our beating hearts. Our feet shall be moving, whilst our minds, inadequate to the task, take the night off. There is somewhere you are meant to be. It is here, now, in this moment. There is a gift right under your nose, and fragrant wine in your glass, gleaming red as the most precious rubies. To be here now, you must pass through the keyhole. But your head will tell you this is not possible unless the door is unlocked, even though your body is passing through the keyhole of that locked door into the endless world beyond. Leave your mind to be in its struggles for a moment. Without you laying witness to it, your mind will become like the dog howling for its master's return, even as he steps out the front door. Frustrated temporarily, he will chew on some shoes, then fall asleep peacefully until his master returns. So leave your mind trusting, chewing a little, until you are truly through the keyhole when it can rest. Leave it be. Instead, come dance with me. This oracle brings you a message. You are at the point of growth, where your mind can hold you back rather than urge you forward. If you have, like so many, used your mind to support you, to shore up your sense of self in the world, and to gain a sense of certainty about how the world works, then this is no easy leap. It will seem as though you are being asked to pass through the keyhole. Of course your mind will stop and argue for all the reasons why the door should be opened instead of remaining closed, making the task seem so much harder than it needs to be. But this is the mind in resistance. Don't place too much stock in the claims that life should be other than it is. You are being asked to dance rather than understand, to lay the thoughts to rest and to come alive. It is the bravest, most trusting soul that dares put the mind to one side and say, "Tonight we dance, my heart and I, in the great rousing music of the beloved's beating heart, and I will not miss one step," and to awaken the next day and do that all over again, and again and again. You are ready, you see, sweet soul dancer. You are ready to live beyond what you know, to have it not matter if you don't understand how life can work itself out, or how it could be that someone so normal and ordinary as you and I could also be so magnificent, wild, and divine. The need for answers and plans, assurances and explanations is passing out of your world now. You are not to wait for permission, for explanation, or even for another dance partner, for I am already inviting you onto the great dance floor. You are to let go of any stigma around not knowing. When someone asks you what you are going to do next or how you are going to manage, you are given this divine mandate. With relish, reveal the truth. I do not know. Know nothing and dance, sweet soul, for all will unveil itself to you in perfect harmony and timing. Your heart shall create the steps in response to the music of the spheres, happening now, alive and spontaneous and free. This oracle brings you a special message. If there is an issue apparently unsolvable or unknowable in your life now, the divine is handling it. The divine is in the middle of it, working through the knot and unraveling it. Fear not. Do the sacred ritual and give yourself permission to take the night off from worry. Repeat this heavenly prescription daily as needed. Sacred Honoring Ritual. Say aloud, I give my heart permission to lead this dance. I give my mind some time off. No more worry or doubt, planning or resisting. Instead, I surrender. Instead, I open. Instead, I allow. I allow. I allow. And all unfolds with perfection, divine timing, and the miracle of grace. With Rumi as my soul's witness, so be it. You have completed your honoring ritual.